a few key facts that we did learn in the hearing last night. I'm not going to try to summarize all of it, and by now you probably saw the hearing or highlights or some coverage already. What we're aiming to do is report out the key investigative findings for you, what we learned from some of those witnesses, what we know from some of that significant testimony. The witnesses I'm going to get to in a few minutes. The other thing we want to go through in terms of what we've learned is the damning evidence about the attack that day. And that's one of the most important things, although there are many important things. So that's what I'm starting with right now at the top of our broadcast for you. Because whenever you hear that the nation watched something in real time or we all lived through something together, the implication is that we saw the same things, that we understand some of the basic facts. That was the case in 9/11. We all saw the buildings fall. But the insurrection, built on a lie, was quickly shrouded by another one. And many Americans have heard a diluted or downright deceptive version of what happened. So last night mattered because every network with a factual news division broadcast the hearings. We could bring that back up because I want to make this point for you guys. If you look at this image, every network broadcast the hearings to tens of millions of American homes. Yeah, this one right here. Now, you might see one exception in the middle. We'll get to that later tonight. But what you're seeing on your screen right here, courtesy of the recount, they put this together, is that millions and millions of Americans were getting this information. The people who may not follow daily news, who may not have heard the accurate story from friends or online about this attack, had to compare it with what Chairman Thompson described as, in a nod to the Eagles, comparing it to your own lying eyes.
Yeah, just for awareness, be advised, there's probably about 300 Proud Boys. They're marching eastbound.
We're going to give riot warning. We're going to try to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot. Breach the line. We need backup. We have a breach of the Capitol. Breach of the Capitol. We lost the line. We lost the line.
Whatever it takes, I'll lay my life down if it takes.
Doors barricaded. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out.
That was just some of the newly released video of the violent attack on the Capitol that, as I showed you, went across all those channels into all these living rooms at night when people are home. And it ran alongside the actual violence, alongside what the committee is calling a, quote, sprawling multi-step conspiracy to overturn Trump's laws, with evidence of how exactly Trump failed as commander-in-chief that day, failed to make any orders or calls to protect the Capitol, and evidence that he welcomed violence against the government that he is supposed to lead, against his own vice president.
Aware of the rioters' chance to hang Mike Pence, the president responded with this sentiment, quote, maybe our supporters have the right idea. Mike Pence, quote, deserves it.
For those who have been informed about what happened that violent day, or who are conversant with Donald Trump's long, ugly, nasty, embarrassing history of violent and autocratic rhetoric, well, much of that would be familiar. But if you don't follow the news or the facts all the time, and at the same time people with large followings are constantly lying to you about it, saying you don't need to follow the news, just listen to their lies, then something pretty straightforward happens in America. As news turns to recent history, there are many who will need a history lesson. Last night really did offer that as its first priority, preempting the entertainment shows and the regular programming that people would watch to show the facts of that day. Now, that project comes first because the more intricate problems of January 6th, the talk of sweeps and coups, of delayed certifications, fraudulent electors, those are the plots and ploys that were used and exploited on top of the actual violent insurrection. So it would be hard for anyone, even if you're versed in this, let alone if you're busy living your life and hearing about it occasionally, to see how that other stuff might matter, how we might need to act as a nation to protect against it happening again, if you don't see that there was a violent coup first on that day. Now, if it seems depressing that it takes so much work to get people to see what happened, as I mentioned in my introduction tonight, in real time, on TV, what happened right in front of their face. Well, in this time of growing authoritarian impulses, we can recall an expert on the topic, Orwell, who famously said, to see what is in front of one's nose is a constant struggle. Bars. Now, Orwell didn't live in the time of the internet or Tucker Carlson or social media, but he knew plenty about propaganda and human nature. And that's what America is facing right now. The power of weaponized propaganda mixed with violence. The reasons that people turn back to conspiracy theories, to hate, to outgroups, especially when they have grievances. And this is a challenge. This is American news here. We talk a lot about what's going on here in the U.S., and that's understandable. But this is one of those challenges many societies have faced around the world. Some successfully, if you want optimism going into the weekend. Others not successfully, if you want to remember that democracies do fail and turn into something far worse than a rough democracy. They can turn into authoritarian regimes. When lies, grievance, and violence combine to seek permanent power, well, this is one of those times that you know the threat is real, which is why last night mattered. Not for political reasons. I could care less about the perceived politics of any of it, but for the real reasons, which is why this is a time for facts, for reality, and if I may, for some strength. Let's get into it. I'm joined by former RNC Chair Michael Steele and Dahlia Lithwick, a legal writer from Slate. Welcome to both of you. Lots of important stuff, long week. As I told viewers, I want to start with the reality of that day. Then we're going to turn to some of the witness highlights, which I thought were powerful. Michael, your thoughts?
Well, you know, it was riveting. It was not just from the sights and the sounds of new video, or even, you know, hearing Ivanka basically said, you know, yeah, Daddy knew it was not real. I knew it was, that he lost, etc. But it was just this galvanizing moment. My frustration still remains, Ari, and it really touches on the last point you were making in your opening, is that, do people really care? Do they really give a damn? I'm curious to see what the numbers are, you know, and see how many people watched. But you had an entire network say, screw this, we're not covering it. I didn't hear Fox viewers clamoring, beating up the network, imploring them to, yeah, we want to see it. So you have a significant portion of the American people who just don't give a damn, who I believe actually want to see this whole thing collapse, because they think somehow their vision of America is going to make it all better. And what they don't understand is that the very same people who were trying to mount an insurrection will be the first ones to crush their damn necks when they get the power.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that. And I think last night brought that reality, that truth, at least for me, it brought it home in a real way.